Good day, everyone. This time, we will be discussing evaluating sources. The rationale behind this topic, why I included this, although it's not found in your book, because I found it very, very important for you to learn. Because with the wealth of information we have now, diba, we have a rich or wide availability of information, whether it is electronic or not electronic. And we should always bear in mind that not all of these pieces of information are relevant or useful, and not all of this information are valid or credible. That's why it's very important that you know how to evaluate different sources, if especially when you are doing academic writing. These are the following criteria to be These are the following criteria when evaluating sources. First one is relevance. Is the source related to your topic? Second one, authority. Is the author of that text a credible writer or a credible author to discuss that topic? And then letter C, currency. Is the source written 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 50 years ago? So mga ganon. Then letter D, contents. Of course, you have to check, you have to evaluate the content if it does not contain bias, prejudices of the authors. And then the last one is the location of sources. Because there is a vast and wide availability of information in the internet, so we need to really choose which source should be included in your academic paper, because not all sources are reliable and then valid or credible. To begin, let's discuss relevance of the source to the research topic. Okay. If you are researching on the law of supply and demand, which of these three are you going to read? Is it A, an introduction to theories in economics, B, how to invest and get rich, C, 105 habits of highly effective businessmen? Of course, your choice should be letter A, because that's the most relevant topic to suffice your research. And then authority or author's qualification. You need also to check if the one who wrote that text or article is credible. Okay, you have to check the educational background, the related training of the author, and usually most of the authors came from universities. So you have to check also that one. And what are the author's publications? So halimbawa, ano ba yan siya? Cambridge ba yan siya? Ano pa? C&E Publishing Company. So you have to check on that. And then if the author's information is available, then that source is credible, and you could include that one in your academic paper. So between these two choices, you have to choose letter A when you are going to research regarding Holocaust. So it's written by Mao Guevara. PhD means doctor in history. So Mao Guevara, since he is a doctor in history, is credible enough to discuss the dark shadows of the past, a comparative study on the Holocaust and the Death March. Okay. Hindi naman related dito si ano tong RMD. I don't know what this acronym stands for. Okay, currency, date of publication. Because information now just come and go, just like people in our lives. The same also with information, no? So we have to consider the date, how current our source is, because madali na lang nalalaos yung mga information now. If this information gets out in the public today, and then tomorrow parang outdated na siya, or in one year time it will become outdated. So it's very, very important to consider the currency, the currency of the source. So among these choices, if you're going to research on electromagnetism, then you have to choose the most current one. So the most current one here is in 2015, the basics of electromagnetism. If you're going to choose 1853 na outdated, archaic na kaina siya. So there are a lot of developments in the electromagnetism that that are not discussed when you're going to choose this source. Okay. Next one is contents, accuracy of information. Of course, you need to check, of course, if the content of the source contains bias or prejudices. So if you're going to search for on Marxism, then you need to read. You have to consider letters B and C. Since letter A, it is very personalized, and when you read The Dark Side of Marxism, the title itself already poses negative notion or negative, negative bias on the topic Marxism. Unlike with letters B and C na options. Okay, location of sources. So ang daming ngayong information nyo, no? Pwede kang mag-search kung saan-saan lang. There are web pages, millions of web pages available in the internet, and you have to really choose where that source came from. So you have to remember here that in academic writing, when you're going to do researches for your academic writing, you need to avoid using blogs or personal homepage and wiki sites. So yung mga sample na mga blog sites would be wordpress.com, blogspot.com, ano pa yun? Kalimutan ko na. Basta those sites. And the most known to us are the Wikipedia, Wiktionary, and then Wikiquotes. Kasi in this site kasi information could be edited. So hindi mo na alam how reputable these sources are. When I say reputable, how reliable the sources are. Okay, if we want really have if we want to use reputable sources in our academic paper later on, we need to consider the top level domain. Ano ba yung top level domain? Ito yung mga .edu, yan, .edu. Ibig sabihin sa edu, that's education. The source is published by an academic institution such as university, and then .gov, government, .organizations, .com, commercial sites, and then .net, network infrastructure. So these URLs would guarantee you that the source is reliable. And there are also other criteria to be considered when you are checking or evaluating the location of the sources. These are the accuracy, authority, objectivity, currency, and then the coverage. For the accuracy, it says here that the author's email and address or phone number or any contact information or contact details should be provided. And kasi merong pinagkakaiba, there is a difference between an author and then a webmaster. Okay, iba kasi yung author, siya talaga yung the source of all the information in that website. For the webmaster, taga-maintain lang yan siya. Okay, taga-maintain lang. And then for the authority, ganun pa rin siya, the same with what I have discussed earlier about is the author credible for discussing the topic, and then objectivity. Of course, yung bias and then the prejudices should not be present in the source you will be using in your academic writing. And then currency, of course, it should not be outdated, and then coverage. Meron kasi tayong may mga restrictions in some of the sources like the academia, yung mga ResearchGate, yung mga ganon. If that source cannot be accessed, meron siyang bayad. Do not include it anymore kasi hindi mo mada-download lahat ng information. Then if you would download just a fraction of it or a part of it, so kulang yung information. So it's better to use materials that are for public use. Okay, among these four choices, which online sources would you consider using for a research? Of course, you would always go for letter B and letter D. Yan. Itong top level domain na edu.ph and then yan, edu pa rin siya. Okay? That's for evaluating sources.